Good evening and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is brought to you by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Serene Insurance, Goyle Company Limited, and the latest kid on the block, the Integrated Customs Management System, ICOMS. Tonight, we are going to be discussing two subjects. One has to do with security at the port and migration, and the second topic has to do with piracy. I will be dealing with the first aspect of the discussion. Now, just along the line in the course of the week, agencies, security agencies, so to speak, operating within the port environment converged to embark on a simulation exercise to test their preparedness in case of the outbreak of an epidemic or the rapid migration of people. And so we have the right person in the studios tonight to help us appreciate what these efforts are geared towards. And we shall be coming your way to introduce my studio guest to you tonight. And then along the line, Mr. Samuel Ajiman, your regular host, will come your way with a second subject, which has to do with the issue of piracy off our coast and elsewhere in the world. We'll go for a break and we'll be back shortly.
Every now and again, Goyle makes good things happen. This time, Goyle has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goyle has that sorted. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, streetlights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
You're welcome back. I would want to remind you that this program is also streamed live on Facebook and YouTube at iOnPort Ghana. If you go there, you can watch this program live. Let me also remind you that you can watch the abridged version of this program on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television, GTV. If you want to be part of the conversation, please send up your WhatsApp via our WhatsApp line, which is 055-9019-177, 055-9019-177. The number to call, if we so happen to activate the phone lines, would be 020-552-8353. Let me go straight ahead and introduce my guest. He is Mr. Samuel Ajete. Mr. Samuel Ajete, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, is the Deputy Security Manager for the Tema Port. Good evening and welcome, sir. And my name is Kennedy Mona. And like I did mention earlier in the intro, over the week, the security agencies operating within the port community held a simulation exercise in the port of Tema to test their preparedness or readiness, so to speak, to be able to withstand or deal with issues of any pandemic that happens if it breaks, and also rapid migration. And so we're dealing with the issue of regulated migration in and out of the port at our ports and points of exit and entry. Let's go straight ahead and then we'll take a look at what happened or what transpired during that exercise, and then we'll come back and zoom into the discussion proper.
Key state agencies operating at Ghana's entry points have tested their state of readiness in terms of capacity and level of coordination in a simulation exercise at the port of Tema. The simulation exercise was fashioned to test the draft contingency plan of the Ghana Immigration Service and its technical partners, the Integrated Center for Migration Policy Development, which forms part of the Strengthening Border Security in Ghana project. Among the participating state agencies were the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the Customs Division of GRA, Port Health, Marine Police, National Disaster Management Organization, the National Ambulance Services, Ghana National Fire and Rescue Service, and the National Intelligence Bureau, who all replicated their complementary roles stipulated within the draft contingency plan. The exercise depicted the response actions of these agencies during the inadvertent scenario of an influx of refugees received at the seaport following a political upheaval in a neighboring country in a pandemic era. The various agencies had to take into cognizance the health protocols while exercising high alertness on security threats so as not to catalyze criminal activity, as well as prevent the importation and spread of disease into Ghana. An assistant commissioner in charge of the policy planning, monitoring and evaluation department of the Ghana Immigration Service, Thomas Ewuntoma, said the COVID-19 pandemic gave impetus for such projects to be deployed.
We as a service now thought that once we were deeply involved in some activities related to COVID by way of contact tracing, among others, it was a wake-up call for us to have some kind of plan in place to be able to manage such emergencies.
He explained that the gaps identified within the exercise would be improved upon in the contingency plan during further simulation exercises.
I think it's a good start because by the end of the day, we want to see, or we want to have a case where all our institutions, of course, we've started well. We already have an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with the Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division. This could be stepped up further to have MOUs with other institutions.
The Port of Tema Harbour Master and Chairman of the Port Facility Security Coordinating Committee, Captain Francis Kwesi Micah, said the exercise is vital to improve Ghana's preparedness level in the event of similar occurrences.
We could have an influx at any time because we are hearing of election disputes in West African countries bordering us. We are hearing of terrorism at sea. We are hearing of poverty, due to this social standards of adjustment all over. And therefore, if the country does not get itself prepared, and much more importantly, the port, then we will be taken by surprise.
Captain Micah, who also acted as the unseen commander for the exercise, outlined various positive takeaways from the exercise, including the fact that the plan made room for business continuity at the port during such emergencies.
The berth that we identified or that we are located for rolling out this possibility should always be a place where the containment will become absolutely solid, that we will not have any spillovers and it developing into another possibility of affecting the smooth operation of the port.
All right, so that was footage of what transpired over the week with that simulation exercise by security agencies operating in the port community. And once again, we'll now come to my studio guest, Mr. Samuel Ajete, who is the Deputy Security Manager for the Port of Tema. Once again, good evening and welcome to the program. First of all, we would like you to bring us up to speed with the kind of security systems we have in the Port of Tema.
Okay, the arrangement in the Port of Tema is we have GPH security, who are the first line of security in the Port of Tema. We do the day-to-day security of the port. We do by controlling accesses. We have access control measures in place at all the entrances and some of the facilities. We also conduct search procedures at the exit gates and entry gates. This is in a bid to ensure contrabands don't leave the port or undocumented items don't go out from the port. We also do some checks and validation of documents and cargo clearance, just in a bid to ensure undocumented cargo don't leave the port. We do patrols, both land and on the sea. On the sea to ensure we don't have illegal activity or to prevent or minimize maybe the illegal activities at sea, right, and then also on land. We also do some physical protection of facilities, including stakeholders' facilities, by deploying gas to various areas. Right. Also, we do intelligence gathering to analyze for management to make certain decisions. Okay. Then also we do surveillance and monitoring by way of our CCTV or physical, right, also to detect or deter crime in the port. Once in a while we also do some demolition exercise in our enclave, our port enclave environment, where we see that slums are coming up. Slums are haven for criminals. And of course, that is where they plan from before they have attack on the port. Right. So once in a while, we look into our enclave, and when we see slums coming up, we conduct an operation to disengage them. Then also we have traffic control within the port and then the whole enclave to ensure there's free flow of traffic. This all in the bid to ensure our mandate by ensuring what effective and efficient security for the conduct of maritime business in the ports. Right. So that is what we do. The other arrangement is we have auxiliary security in the port, who are our partner agencies, who also collaborate in their various mandates which establish them in the port, right, in assisting us to do our job. That is the arrangement in the port.
Okay, so let me find out from you, with the level of CCTV penetration in the port, our understanding is that it is littered, the port is littered with, CCTV cameras, almost every corner of the port. Can you confirm this?
Yes, it is confirmed. And currently, as we speak, upgrading is going on to ensure we don't have blind spots. We still have blind spots anyway. You still need to go through, do some investigation in the course of your operation to see areas that the CCTV cannot cover and then still cover up. So as we speak, we are still doing upgrades to ensure we have total coverage in the port and its environment.
All right, so in terms of security architecture within the port community, you play a very pivotal role. What role do you play in terms of regulating the entry and exit of people into the port?
Entry and exit of people,
yes,
any manner of people?
Yes.
Yes, and I mentioned that we control the access into the port. That is our mandate, because we do the day-to-day. People coming to work in the port, depending on what the kind of job you are coming to do, go through certain procedures by registering, if it's a company, with GPHA. Then, of course, after that registering and being licensed to do the operations, you go through our processes where we do some profiling and identification of the persons that are coming to do. If we do that, we finish and we pass you through. You are issued with an identification cards, which allows you to enter the port. Of course, a photo ID, which is recommended by the ISPS to identify each and every person entering the port. So it depends on the kind of job that you are coming to do, and then the kind of procedure we take you through to ensure you are carded to enable enter the port to do your business.
Basically, how long does it take? What's the duration before I can, let's say if I'm processing my documents to enable me have access to the port, how long does it take?
The first has to go with the registration with monitoring department. When that is done, you only write to the PSM expressing the interest to get certain permits for you to be able to do your job. It comes with a quick approval, and then you are asked to submit certain requirements. This vehicle, we need to look at the insurance, we need to look at the roadworthy of the vehicle. If persons will come with the stage, whether really the fellow is working, a legitimate worker with that person, with that company. And then we do a little bit of background check on those people. Within 3-4 days, we should be able to go through this, give you, if you have gone through and you pass through our process, we will give you a sheet to go and pay for those various passes or permits, and then we quickly issue for you. Within the day, if you're able to bring, by the next day, you should be able to get. So less than a week, you should be able to go through and get everything ready. Right.
Now, in your earlier submission, you made mention of the fact that you collaborate with other agencies within the port community. What's your level of collaboration with these agencies?
The collaboration depends on the issue at stake, because every agency in the port, which is our partner agency, are mandated to do certain things. So there are issues that we need to collaborate with GIS. There are issues that we need to get to customs. There are issues where we need to bring in the national security or the NIB. And then there are issues where we might need all of them together to play part in whatever issue which is at stake. So depending on the issue. But we don't relent on our efforts where the need arises for us to contact any of them. We are in close contact and close collaboration in whatever we do.
All right. So before we come to the contingency plan that has been set out by the Ghana Immigration Service, which simulation exercise took place in the course of the week, let me find out from you, when you happen to apprehend intransigent migrants, like people who are not illegal migrants into the port, how do you handle them?
It depends. It would depend on the numbers. I would say if they had come and what we see, we have a credible medical setup in the port. The port has and a full-fledged hospital. We are there, full force security, and then we have the police around and all to handle that. But when we are talking of influx that had to do with number of vessels, with men, that is mass, of course, it will be difficult. It will be done, but with a difficulty. Because we might need even the services of government agencies like NADBO or the Refugee Board to come into play. Immigration Service definitely will have to come, and then before we'll be able to handle.
Right.
So it will be with a difficulty depending on the numbers. In fact, what we handle could have done with just all those agencies, those of us around. If we imagine having about 3, 4, 5 vessels full of men, it will be difficult for us to handle without the collaboration of the external agencies and even the government agencies that have to do with it.
Very well. So let's zoom into the simulation exercise that took place and the contingency plan by the Immigration Service. What role does the port security play in this particular plan?
In fact, when it comes to that, we are the host. Because I mentioned earlier that we run the day-to-day security of the port. So when it comes to that, you see we play part in almost everything from the beginning to the end of the process. Where in even the location that the vessel will have to berth, we need to have to cordon the area with some physical structures, maybe a crash barrier, to ensure people don't intrude from other areas into the kind of operation that we are coming to do. People don't leave jobs they are doing to come and interfere. We have to deploy men at the area. We have to control every process, even where it comes to assisting in searching, doing body search on men. We have to come in, shepherding migrants through the process and through whatever till the end, and even escorting them to even their RC, the reception centers that they might demarcate for or earmark for, and then demarcating or earmarking a dedicated route and gate for them to go through. So you see us, in fact, in every aspect of the operation, and that is exactly what even happened in the simulation that we did.
Yeah. So basically, of what benefit do you think it is to the security apparatus in the port?
Yes, it's very beneficial. We say practice makes man perfect, and then of course, anything you don't try your hands, it comes the first time, you become jittery, and there happens to be chaos. We do a lot of exercises per the ISPS, because Part B, Sections 18.6 of the code mandates us to do exercises within the year and not more than 18 months between exercises.
When you talk about code, what code are you talking about?
The ISPS, International
ISPS
Port
code,
Facilities Code.
Right.
That is the requirement, and it's a recommendation, which we do exercises. All geared towards, you look at it, terrorism, because the code seeks to what? Protect the ship-port interface. That is the essence of the code. All that we put in place is to protect the ship and port interface. So what that we do is towards terrorism, aggression towards the port. In fact, when you look at influx of men, you see that in a way, it also comes in the form of terrorism, where you unlawful use of violence against people or property to achieve political interests. Also, it's a means of terrorism. But we never considered in all our simulations this as a threat onto the port. Of course, it comes when it comes, it becomes a threat depending on the numbers. So it is very good and timely that this thing came up, and then there's a contingency plan in place that if it should come, as part of whatever we do, this has come to add up, and then we'll be fully prepared for whatever eventuality that comes. So this has come, has brought our knowledge up, has made it fairly prepared towards such a crisis.
Very well. This is Metropolitan Television, and the program is Eye on Port, and my guest in the studio is Mr. Samuel Ajete. He is the Deputy Security Manager for the Port of Tema, and we are discussing the issue of unregulated migration into the port here in Ghana. And so let me find out from you, with this simulation exercise that took place over the week, would you say, with what you saw, the systems put in place, what you used, you are prepared, and you can name whatever situation it is that arises out of this exercise? Are you convinced with what you saw on that day?
Yes, I am convinced. We identify one or two lapses, and that is the essence of simulation, is for you to identify the gaps and then make amends. And once we're able to go through this and identify certain vulnerabilities or certain gaps, and then we know what to do, I believe if it happens, we are well prepared to confront it. Very well prepared to confront whatever situation will come, because we have come to see that there are resources that we need, above the coordination with the other agencies and all that, and then the respective roles and responsibility of each agency, and then how to put up even the scene in case we have such a thing, to put in place the structures to go through the processes until it ends up at the RC. So I believe we are well prepared to handle such a situation if in case it comes. Of course, if it's in numbers, definitely we might get assistance from even government agencies to assist. So preparedness, yes.
All right, so you mentioned certain lapses that you identified during the exercise, and have you penciled this down? And what are you going to do to rectify them to ensure that you are very, very prepared?
Of course, the formulation of the contingency plans is headed by GIS, and then it is in the draft state. And that is why at the point they decided, let's test this draft and see whether it's workable, it's feasible. So once we've tested it and we see it's feasible and identify the gaps, amends, we are going to make amends and then what? Bridge those gaps to make it whole. That will be workable and can be used at any time.
All right, so let's look at the general security situation in the port. You've given us what it is like, the architecture that is there, the processes and all that. But let's look at the bigger picture, generally. What role, we have a lot of stakeholders operating within the port community, thousands strong the port day in, day out. Now, what role do you think that these stakeholders have to play to ensure that the plans that you have put in place to ensure absolute security within the port community is not thrown off here and that you are not caught unawares?
Yes, I think I mentioned from the onset that we do the day-to-day running of the security in the port, and then of course by way of functioning, the access control, the searching procedure, the checks on documentation, the surveillance, the intelligence, all those things put together, of course, basically will ensure total security, and that is our mandate. Now, we having the collaboration of the other partner agencies also comes to add up to ensure we have a strong force to what? To make the port safe for business. In their respective roles, they have their mandates that they play. So let me give an example. If it comes to undocumented cargo leaving the port, cargo clearance, customs dictates the pace. So that is why customs will go the length that they have to go to ensure they go through all these documentary checks before giving clearance to cargo.
Right.
And of course, before we clear, we know they dictate the pace in cargo clearance. So if we don't see clearance from customs, there's no way we also do our necessary check to exit the cargo. If it comes to crew or, let me see, travelers or whatever, that is the mandate of GIS. Before we work on any crew, we must ensure that crew had gone through GIS checks and clearance before we can. So we give respect to every agency in the port per their mandate, while we also play our role, and then that coupled makes the port safe for business. Very strong security in place.
Okay.
And safe.
So daily, what are the common petty security infractions that you detect in the port? The complaints and reports that your boys give you as heads of the security.
Of course, we have issues of small preference. Of course, security is not 100%. Yeah, it comes up, and then that is why we are still upgrading the cameras in the port. It comes to a certain challenge because we need to also improve on the illumination. You may have the camera. If you don't have good illumination, it comes to nothing. So we're still improving on the lighting systems in the port to assist that, ensure. So little preference comes. The other issue has to do with drivers driving recklessly at certain times in the port, overspeeding or driving recklessly. That, and then any time we find them, we impose a fine on them because we ensure the bylaws, we enforce it, bylaws and regulations in the port. Basically, once a while, you get issues of maybe documentary fraud. Once a while, of course, the kind of people, or in a system like this, definitely you might get one or two who try the system. But of course, with the kind of checks in place, it comes that at all costs we're able to, through customs or other agencies, or through us, we're able to detect and then prevent those things. So basically, it comes with the small preference, this infraction, parking, unlawful parking in and around the ports, and then the reckless driving, this kind of little documentary fraud on cargo, and the rest.
Yeah.
Basically,
So you mentioned the issue of reckless driving, unlawful parking and all that inside the port. What's the state of accidents in the port? Is it something that's rampant? Is it something that's regular? How are you able to deal with these?
Of course, it occurs. It's frequent. It's kind of lately we having the frequency is kind of high, which is a worry to the port itself. And then mostly has to do with we have third-party trucks that we engage to do part of the transfer of boxes for us.
Right.
And then once they are third-party, you don't have the full control over them, even though we engage them every now and then to put them in check, to advise them, educate them, and the speed limits in the ports, and then the safety aspect of whatever cargo they take. Yet we keep seeing accidents happening where drivers over speed and at a curve, a junction that they need to take their time, they don't, and containers fall off here and there, both within and outside the port. So it happens. But I think they are taking steps to do a lot of education, even though the punitive whatever is there, I don't think it's deterrent enough. Because whatever they'll find money to pay. But we're going the extra mile as a port to do some education, a lot of education, and then see how to go.
All right. I think we should be wrapping up to make way for Samuel Ejimai, together with Captain Kamal Dean Ali, for the second phase or the second segment of this program. But tell us, what role do we all have to play to ensure that our security is not jeopardized as far as operations in the port are concerned?
Yeah, security is not one man's business. Yeah, so we need the collaboration, apart from the agencies that I mentioned, the arrangement in place. Every person in the port effort is needed in respect of information sharing, where that is why we see something, say something, that we expect even staff, the stakeholders, the importers, whoever comes and see something which they think is wrong or going on which is wrong, definitely we need to inform us for us to take action or find remediation to whatever problem is happening so that it will not get. So we need everybody's hands on it. We need everybody in the port to play a part in the security that we...
Right. I think somebody just sent in a WhatsApp to my personal phone. He is of the view that you are not taking steps enough to make punishment deterrent enough for people who pilfer within the port community. In fact, the fellow seems to be confused or at his wit's end as to why somebody can import his goods and then someone would have the opportunity of taking something out of it. And he cites the issue of cars where some people can just pick up some of the parts and all that. Is that at your doorstep? Is this something we want to respond to?
In fact, pilfering, I've said that it comes on once in a while, and which we are seriously on it and open our eyes and gear our efforts towards those kind of things. The pilfering on the past, you're talking about times, some happens when vehicles are being discharged from vessels. Some even happen before the arrival of the vessel, of the cars in the port.
Right.
That is why we do conditioning of the vehicles. That is where mostly we get these reports of pilfering from cars.
Right.
So where conditions are prepared and for us to establish that it is the port, we know. If it's before the arrival of the vessel, we know. And then we have a system in place where carriers that come with vehicles, we put a lot of men on board to prevent such occurrences.
Right.
You're doing a lot of efforts in that area to ensure these things don't happen. Yeah.
Very well. So this is where I say a very big thank you to Mr. Samuel Ejete, who is the Deputy Security Manager for the Port of Tema. We have been discussing the issue of unregulated migration into the port. My name is Kennedy Mona. We'll go for a break, and when we return, Samuel Ejimai will take over your screens. Stick and stay.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goal Super XP Run 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goal Super XP Run 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goal Super XP Run 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goal Super XP Run 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
Welcome back to the program. It's Eye on Pod live from the studios of Metro Television. And like my colleague Kennedy Mona said, this is the second part of the program. Earlier we had Mr. Samuel Ajete of the Port Security. He's actually the deputy manager for the Port Security, sharing gatekeeping of Ghana's entry points against unregulated migration with my man, Kennedy Mona. And as I mentioned last week, you will be seeing loads of Kennedy Mona going forward. A very experienced guy reporting on the maritime industry for quite a long time. And it's appropriate that this is the best time the Lord has made. And you'll be seeing quite a lot of him going forward, helping the activities and information dissemination around the port industry as well. So I have been joined in the studio by Dr. Kamaldeen Ali. Doctor, pleasure to have you in the studio. Dr. Kamaldeen is Executive Director of SimLaws Africa, Center for Maritime Laws. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio.
A pleasure to also join your program, and to add also for the sake of institutional affiliation that I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies.
Awesome.
Yes.
UPS?
UPS, sir.
Doc, we haven't baptized you on this one.
Yes, I just started a couple of months ago.
Oh, then we'll baptize you today. After the program, no, we'll baptize you.
Yes.
But congratulations, and we wish you well over there as well. So the accolades are increasing. You're also a former Navy captain, aren't you?
Yes, I retired as a Navy captain.
Awesome, awesome. You're doing great, and we'll continue to pray that God will grant you a lot of wisdom, and then you can share a lot more with this country. And we're going to talk about piracy because you've been doing quite a number of studies around that area, and we want to assess the level of threats that vessels and crew folks are going through on the seas and all of that. We believe that it's important that we get to know what the true picture is, and then for people also to be aware of what's happening on the ground, and then we see how best we can all deal with the situation going forward. Because I spoke with you, I think about 4 or 5 days ago, when the IMO Secretary General spoke about this in a conference somewhere else. So it's very, very important. I don't know if we've exhausted, have we exhausted all our breaks? So we don't need to pick any. Okay, if we've done that, we have a chart, which I know that you are aware about. We're going to discuss that chart. We want you to run us through what the details are on the ground, particularly 2020, because you were here in the studios, I think 2020, the last quarter, and we shared what the year 2020 had gone.
Yes.
When we began this year 2021, the first quarter so far, a lot has happened when it comes to the piracy.
Yes.
And people are getting concerned about it.
That's true.
And we would love to hear a lot about that from you. But if you can give us a fair picture of what we have seen in 2021, though.
I think what we have seen in 2021 is a continuity of some of the trends that we saw in 2020. But it also seemed to be the case that over the last, even I'll stretch it to 10 years, for some of us who have been closely analyzing this, maritime security and piracy trends in the Gulf of Guinea, that every year in the quarter there is always a dynamic that seems to peak the piracy in a different direction. And that dynamic normally will present an increasing threat or risk to the shipping industry. So in 2021, we have witnessed that as well. And as you said, this is something that we can speak to. Yeah. But essentially, you will see that some of the significant elements that we saw in 2020, and also importantly, some of the elements that we saw in the last quarter of 2019 moved into 2020 and consolidated, as significant activities or threats or risk. And then again, you find some of those incidents, moving into 2021, but with 1, 2, or 3, actually about 3 dynamics already in 2021 that has again shifted the risk. And this is the reason for the IMO Secretary General significantly coming out to issue a statement calling for action. And this is a reason that you will see also in the first quarter of this year that a number of things has happened. One is, in addition to the Secretary General message, the EU came up with what they call a coordinated maritime patrol declaration, that they are going to conduct coordinated maritime patrols in the Gulf of Guinea. Only last week, Denmark officially declared that they are going to deploy a military ship or a navy ship to the Gulf of Guinea. Then also, significantly also, the UK also indicated, if you saw in the news only last week or the week before, there was a UK defense minister or somebody that visited Ghana and interacted with a lot of important personalities in Ghana, including ministers. And there was an interview that he granted, and he also indicated that the EU will also be, the UK will also be deploying the UK Navy to the Gulf of Guinea. So these significant developments are because of what has happened in 2021. So if you wanted us to share some of the trends that are in 2020, then we lift that up to what we have seen in 2021 that either graduate, depart, but have impacted on the threat profile again in a different direction. Sure, and we'll break that down pretty shortly while I walk towards the screens. But I'm sure before then, we'll have our techies and producers put on the screen some of the piracy images that we have seen along the line. Because on our shores, we have seen a few, and beyond our shores, we have also seen a few. But you talk about EU making some movements. You talk about Denmark, for instance, taking a certain action. You talk about IMO taking actions. Africa, what have we been doing, though? In the sub-region, sub-regional efforts have been going on, and they continue to go on. Starting from 2013, when the head of states and governments of the region entered into what we call the Yaoundé Architecture for Maritime Security. Member states have, in one way or the other, tried to operationalize that and implement that. So the Yaoundé architecture is still being implemented. Of course, on daily basis, and on daily basis, the navies in the region go to sea. The Ghana Navy, for example, will go to sea. The Nigerian Navy will go to sea. So they are already at sea, by and large. It is just that perhaps their effort is insufficient to contain the problem. So these other navies and these other announcements that we saw coming from the EU are also an indication of their desire to participate in policing the waters of the Gulf of Guinea. Of course, that has also got some geopolitical or state relational issues that one may need to analyze as to whether that is going to be in the long-term interest of the security of the region and the partnership between the countries. But that is a different direction. Be it as it may, they've indicated their interest to be present physically in the region, to police the waters of the region, I believe alongside the member states of the region. Although I will say from what I saw, there wasn't really a concurrent discussion of the EU initiative with the region. It was an EU initiative, but I think the member states of the region will have to accept and will have to receive that information and analyze it the way they wish to, and perhaps there may be a future engagement between the EU and the member states on how they wish to operationalize the declaration of the coordinated maritime patrols.
Because one of the reasons I hammered on what the region is doing is because the last time we had a chat on this one, latter part of last year, you were very blunt in saying that the Navy, for instance, the Ghanaian Navy, is very under-resourced.
Yes.
And I don't know what has changed ever since we last spoke, and whether you see any action towards seeing some or bringing about some change.
In terms of platforms, really it takes quite a long time for navies to change in their platform profile.
Even when we're getting to a year since we last spoke.
Yes, especially when it comes to ships, because you can't just go out and shop. You can go out and shop the best car on the market, but you can't go out and shop just a ship or a patrol vessel or a navy vessel. So it may take some time. So not that I expected or anybody should expect that in terms of ships, that there would have been a change between our interview last quarter, last year, and then this year.
No, we're hoping to have them have, for instance, faster boats and things like that. Are we seeing efforts being made to procure some of these sophisticated equipments that's intended to combat this particular menace?
No, yeah, I am not aware of the procurement processes, whether there are any procurement processes. But of course, even if they were to start any procurement process, it may take 3 years to have a ship on water, or 2 years minimum, because these are specifically designed for a certain purpose. So it takes quite a long time to design and deliver a ship to a Navy or a Coast Guard. It takes, even commercial vessels, it takes that long, perhaps even much longer. So, but I'm not aware of any particular procurement initiative that is ongoing, although I expect that that should be happening in order to lift up the capability of the Navy. But you've also seen that the new Chief of Naval Staff has indicated a resolve to step up maritime security, which of course will be a continuity of what the old one was doing. But in his acceptance speech as the Chief of Naval Staff, you would have seen it made headlines of his resolve to chase pirates wherever they are, and then to make sure that he makes our waters safe and secure.
Okay.
Yes.
How, I would say, how much of have we recorded any recent cases within our waters here in Ghana?
Yes, in this year, this year
Give
we
us
have
a picture of what this year. What have we recorded?
Oh, you mean in Ghana?
In 2021 in Ghana.
Yeah, 2021
around our waters.
Yes, in the 2021 we've recorded 1 or 2 incidents.
Which ones are these?
Yes, there was an incident that happened in our waters, but extremely close to the Lomi side of our border, and I've forgotten the particular name of the vessel, but I think this was in February, and ultimately the vessel drifted into Lomi. So although the Ghana Navy intervened in the incident, it ultimately ended up in the Togolese waters, and then the vessel was rescued. So the pirates had attempted boarding, and they boarded the vessel, but along the line the vessel was rescued and it was escorted to port. But the incident took place in the Keta side of our waters.
Okay, now let's get to the screens, and let me try to walk up there and break it down a little bit for you. So the 2020 trends that we have on the screens says that there's the range of attacks, there's a mass kidnapping, there's a target variability, there is a energy security, there's a spread of attacks, there's a reduced footprint, and there is an improved business model. I would love for you to break all these ones down for me. We'll delve into, let's say, mass kidnapping, we'll delve into, let's say, spread of attacks, and then probably the reduced footprint. But what are all these for? If you can share with us what the trends are. So we've got about 7 trends. What are they?
Yes. We did this analysis by August of last year, trying to see how the year was going on 2020. And then we consolidated it at the end of the year because the trends that we saw in August actually deepened by the close of the year.
Okay.
If you take target variability that you are looking at, that is to look at the type of vessels that have been targeted in 2020
okay.
and 2020,
okay.
and how that compared with the previous years.
Okay, and what type of vessels are these?
Yeah, so in 2020, although in the previous years, commercial vessels, and here from 2018, you will see that there were more commercial vessels, especially non-cargo oil vessels that were targeted.
But non-cargo oil vessels.
Yes, non-cargo oil vessels. Okay. So, but in 2020, the additional trend is that a lot of fishing vessels were also targeted. Okay. So the variability of targets in terms of vessels that were targeted increased in 2020. So you had a good number of fishing vessels that were attacked in 2020, and you will see that this led to a major response, for example, from the Korean embassy in Ghana here, because quite a number of Ghanaian flag fishing vessels that are of Korean beneficial ownership were actually hijacked within the Gulf of Guinea. So this change or this change in trend of adding fishing vessels to the targets for pirates in 2020 is what we refer to as target variability.
Okay. Have you seen any difference since we entered 2021, the first quarter? The vessels that are being attacked, are there similarities between that and those that were attacked in 2020?
In 2021, we've had 1 or 2 fishing vessels, but in 2021 first quarter, the majority of the vessels that have been attacked are oil cargo vessels and ordinary ro-ro and cargo vessels. So they have been attacked in 2021 in terms of the target consistency or the target relations between 2021 and 2020.
And what could be the attraction to these particular vessels?
I think at the end of the day, if we go to business model, the improved business model, that links up with the target variability. Originally, Gulf of Guinea pirates targeted cargo. And by 2015, they shifted to started shifting from cargo to ransom kidnapping. By 2018, ransom kidnapping had taken place, which means they kidnapped the crew and used them to negotiate for ransom. So because of the perfection of the business model of hijacking crew members or kidnapping crew members and using them to negotiate for ransom, then in 2020, the latter part of 2019 and 2021, it didn't really matter so much what vessel you wanted to target.
I see.
Because whether you it's a tanker, it's a cargo vessel, it's a ro-ro vessel, it's a fishing vessel, you will have crew, a special foreign crew, to kidnap.
So the agenda was the kidnapping,
yes, the agenda
not necessarily the vessel that you're attacking.
But then, fishing vessels also have a level of vulnerability as compared to commercial vessels. They are less fortified. The security arrangements are much lower. Okay. So because of that, they become much vulnerable, and then they become easy, or if you want, softer targets. Yeah. So this accounted for the fishing vessels. So I would think that if fishing vessels remain in high numbers in the Gulf of Guinea, within the profile of 2021, they will be kidnapped as they'll become the target, or they'll continue to be the target as much as it was in 2020.
Okay, so another trend is the mass kidnapping trend. Since we're talking about some of the models, what's happening with mass kidnapping, and what numbers did we see in 2020? What are we seeing in 2021? I hope the techies will fix this.
The trend of mass kidnapping started changing, as I said, from 2015. And then 2015 to 2017-18, we saw a blend of kidnapping for ransom, but there was also a continuity of targeting the cargo. In the latter part of 2019, mass kidnapping or kidnapping for ransom increased. So if you compare the figures, for example, in 2018, you had, for example, about 108 people that were kidnapped, crew members. By 2029, it had increased to about 130, and then it continued to increase to about 160 in 2020. So that is a significant increase in the kidnappings. In previous years, also in 2019, although we had kidnapping of up to about 130 crew, they were spread. They were kidnapped in a number of incidents. In 2020, the pirates could attack a vessel and kidnap about 10 crew, about 9 crew members, about 12 crew members. That, again, was a change, because here, not only have you kidnapped the crew, but you have also imperiled the ability of the ship to function. Yeah. It's different from taking 3 crew members as compared to taking as many as 10 crew members. So this is a trend of mass kidnapping, and I'm sure you can see it being pictorially displayed in the follow-up picture.
The follow-up picture. But before we move to the follow-up, so in the business module, have we seen any improvement from, let's say, 2012 coming upwards?
Yes.
In 2020, what did we see? And if you can tell us what we also see in 2021, for instance.
Yes. And in terms of the business model, for every crime, there's always a business model around the crime, be it robbery on land or anywhere. But you then have to look closely to see how the trend have been changing. So in oil, in piracy, that is targeting oil cargo, you expect to take the oil, you expect to get a vessel at sea, you change the oil, and then that is you transfer the oil, and then you sell the oil to somebody. So those are the players in the business model when it comes to oil cargo or any type of cargo being targeted. Now, once pirates started moving from cargo to ransom kidnapping, that is kidnapping crew for ransom, you needed a different business model. And that business model has become more sophisticated, because you need to plan, you need to go to sea, you need to kidnap the crew, you must have somewhere to keep them. And they are actually kept not in one place. They are kept in, by the time they would have finished negotiating for the pirates, they would have moved them to more than 6, 7, 8, or at times 10 different hotels or 10 different facilities within Nigeria and different cities in the Port Harcourt area. So it means that there are many players that are involved in the business model of mass kidnapping.
Yeah.
So they
And
keep
it's
them
expensive.
here. Yes, they keep them here for 2 weeks, move them to somewhere else, move them to somewhere else. And there are other levels of people. There are negotiators who have to negotiate the ransom on the side of the pirates, making sure that they are able to keep the negotiation going on and put the measures in place as to when the money is going to be dropped. On the side of the shipping industry, there must also be negotiators who will be negotiating with the negotiators from the pirates. So although they are not necessarily bad, they are not really bad elements in the business model, but they are all actors in the business model, and the business model has therefore changed. Racketeers and other people who are all making money out of this have changed, and those hotels and facilities where they kept them, they also become, by and large, part of the business model.
See, look, anytime I hear you break it down like this and open up the nature of business it has become,
yes,
I tend to agree with some of the folks who are sharing messages that it looks like this is not something that we can do away with, because it looks like so many people, yes, including even governments, are, yes, getting involved in this. Yes. I'll come to you on whether it's possible to deal with it and how that can be done.
Oh, yes,
but Stephen Boating is an engineer, marine engineer. He says the sub-region can purchase small patrol boats for the immediate term to offer regular patrols. These boats won't take 2 years. In the long term, we should embrace the concept of blue economy, which we're already involved in, and that's what we are discussing in general. Where, for instance, the Tema shipyard can be revamped, okay, so expand the blue economy, take advantage of it, with private partnership to start building such patrol boats. So thinking of using local shipyards to build patrol boats.
Yeah.
Is that sophisticated enough to even chase these pirates, yeah, and the sort of boats the speed boats that they are using recently?
Yeah, I think Stephen is right, but for every particular case, you have to look at it closely. You see, besides the truth is that you can't just send people, 5 people, mm-hmm, or 10 people in a small boat to sea and expect them to stay there for 6 hours, 7 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Yeah.
So yes, you can have boats that are smaller boats, but their ability to endure and to stay at sea for a longer time to achieve the mission you want to achieve becomes questionable.
Yeah.
So the question is, if you have particular operation to undertake, they will be useful.
Yeah.
But if they are to do general policing,
yeah,
then their limitation will come, because will you send them for 4 hours and withdraw them to port when you expect that you should have them for days to be at sea to be able to have consistency and presence? So this is where the argument is, not that you can't do with small boats altogether, but there must always be a balance between small boats and the boats that can really stay longer at sea for you to achieve a greater mission.
Okay, let's put together the spread of attacks and the reduced footprint quickly, and then we can get to the distances where they are operating now.
The spread of attack analysis in 2020 was looking at how many countries, we just looked at the geographical spaces in the Gulf of Guinea, were touched by pirates. And significantly, there was a 30% or more increment in the spread of attacks of piracy in 2020. Mm-hmm. So which meant that whereas in 2018, for example, we had piracy limited to a number of coastal areas, by 2020, it has spread to many areas, and which also means that the risks have completely changed.
Yeah,
the risks have completely changed. And shipping industry risk is very, very important. They must know the risk, and risk relates to insurance, and insurance relates to the freight, and freight relates to cost of items. So the risk dynamics change significantly in 2020 in terms of the spread of attacks. Mm-hmm. The reduced footprint...
Yes. Before you move to that, has that affected cost to this area?
Invariably affects cost. It affects cost because, you see, you have to take insurance. Mm-hmm. Not only are you taking insurance on the ship, but you are taking insurance also on the crew members because of the additional threat of the piracy.
Yeah.
Yes. So because of that, it will definitely relate to higher freight charges. And higher freight charges, when you pay for freight, definitely you have to recover the freight from the imports that you have brought into your country. Yes.
So is that, would you say that is making, because the Gulf of Guinea, and it's become, now it's global, that the threat is here. Would you say it's made our area more expensive than other areas? And that probably would be the reason why somebody from this area will be paying more on imports than somebody from a different area, for instance.
Yeah, we had traditionally paid higher for shipping, and that is a different discussion.
That's our region.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, developing countries generally tend to pay higher for many things than they are not supposed to pay.
Okay, so beyond developing countries, because I wouldn't be looking at the Philippines or the Brazil or Vietnam area,
but even we are in another class of developing countries. We also pay more than them. We also pay more than them. So traditional, but yes, this additional risk also means that it makes the cost of shipping higher in our region, because the shipping industry will have to protect itself.
Interesting.
And if it has to protect itself,
then you pay for it.
Yes. The
insurance would be borne by you.
People will ultimately pay for that.
Produce footprint.
No, reduced footprints was analysis that we did in terms of the agility and the swiftness with which pirates have conducted their activity in 2020 compared to previous years.
Okay.
Compared to previous years. In 2020, pirates were much faster. They operated in stealth, and then they were able to achieve their mission in a very short time. And that is because they have continuously mastered the arts of the crime and know when to strike, and was able to do that with fewer numbers and yet able to achieve their mission. So unlike previous years where you will count many boats in a piracy squadron, or what we call the Piracy Action Group, PAG, you saw fewer boats, and yet they achieved their mission because of the agility and the speed with which they were able to conduct their mission. And that's what we call the reduced footprint.
Okay. Now, let me read this one from a Silfi in Tema Community 3. It says, in its most recent piracy report, the International Maritime Bureau, IMB, highlighted that West Africa, and particularly Gulf of Guinea, have experienced a record high in piracy incidents as the number of crew kidnapped in the Gulf of Guinea increased more than 50% from 78 in 2018 to 121 in 2019, and is still increasing. The reason is that navies do not have the resources needed to tackle the well-funded and well-equipped pirates. Lack of cooperation between the navies and other authorities. Now, let me take you to the, and I'll link it with Sylvie's comment. The average distance of attack from coastline. I noticed from a chart that I have that from 2012, we had 30 nautical miles from the coastline. That's where they were operating. Now, in 2018, 48 nautical miles from the coastline. In 2019, 62. So they keep advancing. In 2020, they've gone as high, or they're able to go as high as 150 nautical miles from the coastline.
Yes.
Sophisticated. They are getting improved by the day. Speak to this, and how are we dealing with it? Sylvia is suggesting that we need a lot of retooling for the Navy. As I asked you earlier, is the Navy able to patrol and go that far?
Yes, Samuel, to start with, for every crime, once a crime is allowed to fester, or it has the ability to fester, those involved in the crime will perfect it. The business model of the crime has brought more money to the actors, and they are able to themselves get faster boats to conduct their activities. So if we look at that from that point of view, the average distance of attack from the coast have increased exponentially from what it used to be in 2012, indeed even what it was in 2019. So we are looking at an average distance of attack of about 62 nautical miles in 2019, compared to an average distance of attack to about 150 nautical miles. And here, when we talk about 150 nautical miles, we're probably talking, speaking of about something like 230, 240 kilometers. But this is the average, because close to 40% or at least 30% of the incidents in 2020 were conducted beyond 200 nautical miles. There were piracy incidents that were conducted at 250 nautical miles from the coast of Niger Delta. Some were conducted from 240 nautical miles, 260 nautical miles. So it has increased tremendously. But a number of factors. One factor is the perfection in the crime. Another factor is the fact that the piracy model had deepened, but also because Nigerian Navy actually deployed much more in 2020. And when they deployed much more in 2020, the pirates had to make sure that they go beyond the patrols of the Nigerian Navy. So they were able to target vessels by bypassing the Nigerian Navy and going deeper into the sea and moving far deeper from the Nigerian coast.
Interesting. So 2019, the number of crew members that were kidnapped, 142. 2018, the number of crew members that were kidnapped, 108. In 2020, 154. Yeah. What's happening?
So that's the increase. That's the increase in the number of crew members. And again, let me say this is part of what we call the piracy graphics. This year, we are actually trying to convey our maritime security report in what we call graphics. So we are going to call it piracy graphics, and they will be launching that actually within the next week or next 2 weeks.
Beautiful.
And so kudos to the members of my team that has put this together.
So this was done by SIMLAWS.
Yeah, this is done. Yeah, this is done by SIMLAWS. So this is showing the increase in the number of crew. Even if you look at that 142 in 2019,
yeah.
50% or 40% of that 142 in 2019 took place in the last quarter of 2019. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the last quarter of 2019, the business model had deepened, and the kidnapping for ransom has started in the last quarter. And this spilled into 2020. And 2020, we saw higher number of attacks. And that is why this year, the IMO and the shipping industry is worried, because again in this year, comparing the first quarter of this year to the first quarter of 2020, we've had much more kidnapping for ransom. Crew members have been kidnapped more. So this agitated the shipping industry.
You have the data? You have the statistics?
Yes, I do have the statistics.
For 2021 first quarter?
I think in the first quarter of 2021, partly because of the trend I mentioned, you expect that in 2019 first quarter, piracy, kidnapping for ransom would have been lower. And it took a deeper trend by the last quarter. So if you look at the first quarter of 2020 also, the total number of piracy, kidnapping for ransom incident, that is kidnapping of crew, were about 32. About 32. And already by February, there hasn't been many kidnapping in the last 2 weeks of this March. So already in January, February, we had bypassed the
first quarter of
2020.
Wow.
And we had gone into the 40s. So it was now being contemplated that, and it began from 2nd January and then into 4th January. And then by February, within the shadows of Valentine, I would say from 14th to 15th to 18th and to 20th, we had the week of intense piracy activity, and it shifted to the other side of the coast, Cameroon, Sao Tome Principe, and a lot of people were kidnapped. So that gave a different indication altogether in terms of the dynamics of the kidnapping in the first quarter of 2021.
We've got an international news that's speaking to this, and also we're going to show some images while I take my seat. But the thing I want you to chew around will be, and let us know if that is the case. Is there a season? Is there a particular attractive season that people need to be on the lookout for? So you talked about the February, the Valentine period, and are there seasons where these folks are very active, for instance?
I think for every beginning of every year, for beginning of every year, it's always seemed to me like the Gulf of Guinea pirates want to say we are here. So don't think we have gone. For beginning of every year, I have seen.
They want to announce their presence.
I have seen different dynamics. Yes, but there are some months in the year that the waters are much rougher. And the shipping,
what
the shipping industry knows this. I think if I'm not sure I remember exactly, but this is likely to be around maybe June. That is around June, July, or from May, June, July, or thereabouts. So there's some parts of the months that somebody may feed me in or feed you in. There are other people that are listening that are much more advanced in ocean dynamics than me. I speak from law policy point of view, but there are about 2-3 months in the year that the sea is much rougher. And for that matter, you may not really have too much action of pirates at sea, or generally, although incidents have happened during the same period in the past. But generally, the sea is much more turbulent, and with the type of boats that they use, the risk to them is much higher.
Okay. This texter from, I reckon, the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority says, "Good evening. I'm watching the show, and the man is giving an accurate detail about how to resolve these pirate issues on our waters, and he's making the show enjoyable. The government needs to equip the Navy and the Marine Police to do more surveillance on the sea to stop this kind of crime or marine crime." This is coming from Mohammed Kamara, Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, Tema, and greetings to you and the panel, also to Madam Esther Jebidonko, that came from Mahmoud Kamara. So, Doc, can we make a headway? Can this ever stop? Or we can just make a lot of noise around this, create jobs even around this, but it will still be like this because of the sophisticated nature it has become, and the lucrative nature in which it's getting for some people who are in this business.
Yes. No, I think we can make a headway, but let's accept it that if we are to make a headway, 90% regionally, 90% of that effort or 80% of that effort will have to come from Big Brother Nigeria. So if we are talking about headway,
what do you expect from?
Yeah, because the piracy action groups generally operate from Niger Delta region. They generally operate from Niger Delta region. So that is if you want the locale, or if you want, I call it the primary piracy enclave. That is the base for the piracy. So generally, that is where they operate from.
The fact that Nigeria is more or less the base, what does that speak to? Is it that the participants are from Nigeria, or people find the Nigerian enclave more conducive?
Generally, most of the participants, in terms of the hands-on who will go to sea, maybe will be Nigerians, but there have been other nationalities among them, but generally they are Nigerians. But generally, you know that there has been significant disturbances in the Niger Delta region. And this is not to say that the Nigerian government is doing nothing about it, but the Nigerian government itself is struggling with the Niger Delta region in terms of policing the region. We are aware of the many years of insurgency in the region, or if you want militancy in the region, and trying to police the region in its entirety is not easy. Of course, we are also aware that there are other security considerations in Nigeria that are also of much concern as piracy. Take, for example, the Boko Haram and other people. So it is not entirely a case of a government that is sitting down doing nothing, but it is the reality that a government is having security challenges in many spheres that they will have to contain. So be it as it may, it is still the case, and the fact is that 80% of the work will have to come from Nigeria. That is the ability to be able to sort out this from the Niger Delta region and from the Niger Delta creeks and coastal area where the pirates operate from. Of course, then there will also have to be complementary action from other countries. So I wouldn't say that it is something that we cannot contain. And I'm even hopeful that perhaps in the coming years, perhaps we should be able to contain this. And then we will have a much more safer environment. Nigeria have shifted this year, and they've launched what they call the Deep Blue Sea Project. And the Deep
Blue Sea.
project is about retooling the Nigerian Navy. And then getting them better platforms, including air access, for them to police the maritime space. And I think they've started acquiring those assets. So with that, it is possible that we can have reduced space for the pirates to operate from Nigeria and significantly help the whole region, as much as other navies in the region will have to also do their part.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you whether we've seen that sort of commitment from Nigeria saying that, yes, we are willing to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then whether you have seen some commitment coming from sub-regional bodies like ECOWAS or ECOMOG helping or willing to help to deal with this,
yes.
From the Nigerian enclave. Do you see that sort of commitment?
Oh yes, I think
from both that regional base and then the regional bodies as well.
Yes, from the regional base and from individual countries across the region, it is something that is becoming much daily, something that is part of. Some few years ago, this was really not part of the security profile of many countries that they would think about. I'm not sure 4 or 5 years ago, the National Security Council in Ghana will go for a meeting and piracy will be on the agenda. So let's accept it that this is a changing trend, and you will have to adjust your security apparatus and tools to be able to contain it. And you can see increase or changes in the countries in the way they are reacting. But I think significant challenges across the sub-region, there are significant challenges. There are significant budgetary challenges. There are significant liquidity challenges. So the navies and the Coast Guard or Marine Police are facing those challenges. So perhaps one of the ways we have to look at it also is that whether we need another model, whether these security agencies will need to depend on the government budget directly to have funding for them to do their work, or whether collectively the blue economy industry will be looking at it and dealing with it in a different way.
Yeah. We have an international report that's speaking to this. I think it's just about 10, 15 seconds. Let's listen to that and come wrap up.
DRAD Global has reported that 15 seafarers have been kidnapped from a Maltese-flagged vessel identified as MT David B, some 213 nautical miles off South Cotonou, Benin. The kidnapped individuals formed part of a total of 21-member crew, including Ukrainian, Romanian, and Philippine nationals. According to DRAD, the incident occurred on March 11 and is understood to have involved the vessel being boarded by 9 armed individuals. German container shipping major Hapag-Lloyd has signed a sale and purchase agreement to acquire all shares of the Dutch container shipping company, now Dutch Investments BV. The move is expected to strengthen Hapag-Lloyd's position in the African market. With over 40 years of expertise, now Dutch provides container services from and to West Africa. The company is present in 85 locations across the world and has 16 owned offices in the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Singapore, China, Angola, Congo, and Cameroon. The Getting to Zero Coalition latest edition of Zero Emission Project Mapping says there has been a notable increase in the uptake of large ammonia vessels over the past year. The number of identified projects has jumped from 66 to 106. The coalition's second edition of the biannual mapping of zero emission pilots and demonstration projects shows 10 large ammonia demonstration projects have been launched, bringing the total to 14. The Mauritius Tourism Promotion Authority has said the Chinese fishing vessel that struck a section of Mauritius Western Reef last week has been refloated and towed to the country's capital, Port Louis. The vessel, carrying 130 tons of oil, ran aground off Point Osab in the northwest of the main island on March 7, causing a minor oil spill. The ship had 19 crew members on board who have all been brought to shore and been put in a 14-day quarantine in line with the COVID-19 safety protocols.
So, Doctor, that's an example that we've been talking about. Wrap it up just in 30 seconds, or let's say even 10 seconds. What's the way forward?
I think the way
as
forward,
we enter into the second quarter, the third quarter, and the last quarter of this year.
Yes, there are a number of things. The shipping industry will take more measures in terms of local protection of the ships. And then the countries in the sub-region will have to step up their effort. Here in Ghana, the government or the stakeholders have put together what they call the National Integrated Maritime Security Strategy. And it has been signed on by the Minister of Transport and the Minister for National Security. So it is expected that it will receive the highest endorsement from the highest level of government, and then it will become a blueprint that will ask the agencies to work much more closer and in an integrated way to address a series of maritime security issues, including piracy here in Ghana.
Okay. I appreciate your time, Dr. Kamaldeen Ali, Executive Director of SimLaws Africa, also lecturer with the University of Professional Studies. And former Navy captain as well, speaking to us on piracy, the development in the corridor of, within the region and all of that, the Gulf of Guinea, and necessary things that we all ought to do to deal with this particular menace and nip it in the bud. Thanks for watching the program. Lord willing, the team will be here same time next week.